calendar, and a special guest each week as we discuss aspects of life and share nuggets with you so that you can be the best person God designed you to be. Join us every Thursday at 6 p.m. on social media as we share and challenge you to be the best that God will have you to be. Grab a friend, sit down and watch and actively participate of what God will do as we share. God bless you.
Beautiful Barbados. Thank you. Gem of the Caribbean Sea. Come back to my island, Barbados. Come back to my island and me. Please come back when the night winds are blowing. Please come back to the surf and the sea. You'll find rest, you'll find peace in Barbados. Come back to my island and me. Please come back when the night winds are blowing. Oh, please come back to the surf and the sea. Oh, you'll find rest, you'll find peace in Barbados. Come back to my island and me. You want to hear everybody singing now? Come on, sing it up. Beautiful, beautiful Barbados. Gem of the Caribbean Sea. Come back to my island, Barbados. Come back to my island and me. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Living Life God's Way. We are so happy to be with you this evening, and we're talking all things Barbados. So, as you log on,
Hoot, 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 hoot.
please take the opportunity to share the stream. We are just going to talk about Barbados. As you may know, on Monday, Barbados is going to be celebrating 54 years of independence. I think I have the number right. And so, from two local
Yes.
experts, Bayesian experts, we are going to find out all the interesting things about Barbados. So let me take the opportunity to welcome the ever lovely, ever beautiful evangelist Sherry Ann with us. Welcome.
Hi, good night. Thank you for having me.
And of course, no stranger to us, we have Pastor Brian Kalinda.
Hola. As Barbados we say, what's up? What going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, I think I'm going to need a translator at some point during this evening segment because I am not familiar with Barbados's local dialect or lingo. So most times I'll be like, what's that person saying? Like, slow down, slow down. So let's get into all things Barbados. Of course, Barbados has a very rich, incredible, rich history. It is a unique melting pot. And for those of you who don't know, they actually won the Wellness Destination Award for 2020. And so let's talk about Barbados. Let's talk about the history. While there was some early back in the 16th century, you would have had some Portuguese and French coming in. Spanish, sorry, you all would have been predominantly colonized by Britain, and actually is one of the Caribbean islands that have a much more rich British history. So let's just talk about a little bit of the history. And I'm going to start with Evangelist Sherry Ann. Tell me a little bit about the history and how you all came into independence in 1966, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 1966 would have been under Errol Barrow, the infamous Errol Walton Barrow. He was the premier at that time, and they would have met in, would not have been Parliament then, but they would have met, and the parties came together, and they decided, it was time for us to break away. That's what we call break away from Britain, and in doing so, they decided on midnight 29th of November that the switch would come and we would be independent from Britain. That would mean then at that point in time, we would have to have our own symbols, our own emblems. That's how the flag came, the coat of arms, the national pledge. We even have a national flower. So all of that came into, and it was big celebration. I think they did it the nighttime, big celebration. Everybody was happy. And we would have followed independence after Trinidad, which would have been just 4 years prior. I think Jamaica would have been 4 years prior as well. And Guyana would have been in the same year as Barbados. So it was a series of Caribbean countries that became independent close around that time. So it was a great time for us to show our flag, show our anthem, do all of those celebrations, just break away from being under the British rule. I believe that we were under the British rule, if I can remember history, about over 350 years. I think it was 360 something years that we would have been under the British rule. They would have been governing our affairs. So becoming independent meant that we would have been taking over our affairs. We would have been running the country without their a lot of interference. So that was a great time for Bajans at that point in time.
Yes, I think you're right. It's just about 360 something years you all would have been under British rule, and of course I could just imagine the celebration that night. You're hoisting your flag for the first time. You're seeing your emblems. There is a government that is coming in that is established for the people, by the people. It's a democratic, you're not ruled no longer by the monarchy. So, there's just a whole lot of things happening. So you could have, if we just kind of let our imagination run wild, how exciting that time would have been for those that would have probably fought, or not fought necessarily, but would have negotiated where you all were at that point in time. Let's just flash forward a few years now to 2020, and now you're making a huge move to now not just cut some ties, you want to actually cut all ties with Britain, because now you are actually going for a republic, which is whoop whoop. Yeah. So let's talk, Pastor Brian, what does that mean for you all in terms of your rich history and stuff? Actually cutting all ties with Britain, you will no longer have a governor general.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry. They're still in the process of discussion. They're still putting the thoughts together and the ideas together and so on. It has its advantages. You're able to make some more decisions on your own. You're able to function as an independent nation. So that's the upside to it as well. The Prime Minister would have given some good thoughts and so on about it. And I'm trying to work out if I'm excited or not about it, because if you are moving into a next era, you still have to be able to maneuver as well. So I'm still trying to work out the process as it rolls over into that period. I believe it will eventually come, but it's still in somewhere in the future. Before it happens for us. Yes.
Evangelist Sharia?
Yes, there is mixed feelings about going into that new era. As with everything when it comes to change, there's always that mix. Some persons are for it, some are against, because they still want to hold on to the familiar. I can't tell you if it's a good step or a bad step. There are ups and there are, the pros and the cons to it. Because you're now going to have a president, we'll be completely independent. So whereas we probably would have had some type of help or something from others, we're now totally on our own. It was announced just a couple months ago, I believe it was probably by the Prime Minister or the Governor General, that hopefully by next year, November, that we would be a republic. So it would be interesting to see the process over the next 12 months of how we're going to get there. So I believe that our Prime Minister and the members of Parliament will have a huge task before then, because with this change needs knowledge and needs a lot of communication, needs a lot of buy-in from the people, to get everybody on board. But as I said, it's up in the air. Some people don't understand it fully. I myself still trying to grasp the whole, essence of being a republic. But it is going to happen, so we will see how that goes.
And I think it's a new phase. We have been a republic here in Trinidad since 1976, so we've had quite a number of years being a republic, being on our own, and having maneuvered that transition. So I am sure both countries may be in dialect as to how to maneuver and transition during this time. And as you rightfully said, Evangelist Sharia, anything that has been established for a long period of time and now you want to break and change, they're going to meet with that tug of war of opinions and what to do. Let's talk a little bit about the church in Barbados, because you all have a very rich Christian, and I use the terminology in its broad sense to cover Anglicans, Roman Catholics, Methodists, Moravians, Jehovah's Witnesses to some extent, and now Pentecostals are coming in. They actually have some of the larger organizations in terms of the religious aspect. Let's talk about the church and Barbados and how has that evolved over time? What are you seeing? What are some of the trends that you would have seen? And I'm going to start with Pastor Brian on this one.
Well, Barbados is known to be a Christian nation, and you have mentioned the various aspects of what we call religion, like saying Anglican, Roman Catholic, Pentecostal. You have Jehovah Witnesses, 7 days, and so on. We have a lot of that here. One of the part of the national anthem, they refer to God, saying that God has been the people's guide for past 300 years. So very often it is reflected upon that we are a godly nation. We are a nation that represents God, or we are part of God, or He is part of us. I know people would have loosely said some time ago that God is a Bajan, but we are a Christian nation. There's some sense of religion, and I will say Christian nation. I'll put religion with it because Christianity is a religion, and we can very well connect religion and Christianity together because that's what it is. And we can get into deeper things. We may talk about relationship and so on with the Lord, but our country is a Christian nation. There most I know it's not as popular as it was years ago, but years ago when you see Sundays in Barbados used to shut down. There used to be church. You either going to church. Some people would have been playing oldie goldies and stuff like that on Sunday mornings. But our nation was known for church on Sunday mornings, and people will go wherever where their denomination or so on was. But it would be completely quiet in Barbados. It was like Sunday was holy day. There was complete quietness in the nation. Children were going to Sunday school and so on. So I can safely say that we have built our nation on Christianity. Of course, there are other religions. There are Muslims in Barbados as well, and so on. But I can safely say that our nation has been built on Christianity.
Awesome. Evangelist Sharon, you would like to add to that?
Yes, I agree with Pastor Brian. I remember on Sundays, the most you would hear playing would be the oldie goldies. It was a very quiet day. As usual, church. You had to go to church. Either your mommy or your granny would make sure that you go to church. But over the years, things have changed. Now you're having parties on Sunday. Sunday now has become like a commercial day in Barbados. Church is, I don't want to say no longer respected in that light, but church is an option now on Sundays because you have so many other options now. I remember before being in an organization 20 something years ago, when gentlemen passed the church and they had on a hat, they would take off their hats and they were just on the road passing the church. But now we see in church, guys are wearing hats. So we've had some changes over the years. The tightening of the religion part of it, where you had to outwardly show your holiness, that has decreased a bit because one time you had to wear long sleeve dresses. You had to wear you had to wear things on your head. The ladies had to cover their head. So a lot of things has changed now. Some better and some because obviously with the dress now is a little bit more free. So we have a little issue with that. But things have changed over the years in the Christian society in Barbados.
Wow, I love the information that is coming out. And I think, and this is what I want to talk about, because back then in the 1960s and 70s, you would not have had that American influence or that first world influence as much through the internet or through social media or any of those things. So we've seen where with the expansion of borders and culture now transcending borders and parameters and the easy access for all these things, you now find yourself where there is so much things added now, where it was, strictly on a Sunday was all about church, all about getting to church, and literally the nation shutting down. As Evangelist Sherry said, now you all have options. Let me just ask the question here, because your government has changed a lot of things over time. They would have passed different laws. Let's talk about the state and religion and how much influence, because Pastor Brian said that you all are a godly nation, a Christian nation founded on Christian principles. How has there been a separation of state and church, and how has that affected you all over the years, Evangelist Sherry?
Yes, there is some separation between the two. However, I find that the government still involve the church in many of their activities, especially when they have openings. You have the church presence. In Barbados, the main religious organization is Anglican. So you will find that the government would involve the Anglican in many of their national services. So there is still engagement of the church with certain activities. However, when they're making other decisions, the church sometimes comes in at the end when things seemingly go wrong. But we still have that influence, but to me is a kind of a separation. They don't come to the church first to ask for advice. They do their thing, and somehow somewhere in between there, they kind of add in the church to just to make sure that they still have that church presence.
Okay, Pastor Brian.
Yes, it can happen. I think it is important for us as we move forward as the body of Christ to make ourselves valuable and relevant to the nation. And I believe that we are coming to that stage where we are able to do that and, be able to provide the necessary teachings and guidance as the Lord will have us to do during this time. So I believe that we're coming there. We're coming there. Evangelist Sharianne is correct when she said what she said. That's accurate. But I'm looking forward to when we are more able to function in that place with our government and so on.
Yes. So I like what I'm hearing from both parties, because I think in nation building, a lot of times the church is not always put at the forefront. But then I also agree with Pastor Brian that sometimes the church isn't relevant and may not know what is happening. And so some of the stances that we take on certain things may cause governments not to want to engage us in discussion or how we can work together for the mutual benefit of a nation. So, there is that tug of war all the time. But as Pastor Brian rightfully said, the need to be relevant to the nation as a whole. All right, so we have lots of things to talk about. So let's talk about this rich history that you all have. And of course, you all would have had settlers mainly from West Africa. There are some settlers from East Africa, but you would have had a lot of settlers coming in from West Africa when they would have brought slaves to work on the plantation and so forth like that. So we're just switching gears a little bit here. And so when you get to Barbados, there is a unique blend of of British and African culture. Let's talk about that blend, because when I came to Barbados, I was really pleasantly surprised to see a lot of the buildings in Barbados still have that very British-like structure. The mannerisms and all of that, it is so very British. So, and then you have that blend of West Africa. So let's start with that, that unique blend that you all have. Evangelist Sherry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pastor Brian.
No. I actually thought you were going to call me, so I was ready to go. I'm sorry.
By all means, go ahead.
Yes, that is true, man. In Barbados, we have. I'm trying to speak English, but I'm trying to throw in some Bajan here as well. So
Yes.
We'll talk about Bajan dialect shortly.
we the buildings signify that we have come out of England, but now the more newer buildings, if you look at them, you see that they are more associated with you have some buildings that the Chinese built. We have some buildings that the Africans built, and so on. So we have a unique mixture going on here, and along with the buildings, we also have the people as well. So
Mhm.
we have the white, we have the black, we have the Chinese, we have, you name it. You
Very
can find
cosmopolitan.
you can find the races in Barbados
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
And I don't think it's a bad thing, because I've heard when I used to play in the bands and so on. I hear he's now one of the ministers. I used to play in a band with him, John King, and he said he went to some place in, was it Australia, and he heard a word that is, I can't call the word, but he heard a word that only Bajans use, and he was shocked to see that that they found Bajans in this far place, and I think it was Australia. So there's a mixture of culture in Barbados. There's a mixture of people. The
Yes.
buildings say it, the look say it. We have that unique variety going on here now. So we
Yes.
are becoming part of the bigger structure of the world. Now, if I might say that, where it is not only a particular type people or color people, but it has been increased over the years, and it continues to increase.
Awesome. Evangelist Sharon?
Yes, there is a good mix because don't forget we were under the British colony for British rule for lots of years, over 300 years. But then remember where Barbados is. They would have landed in Barbados. The Africans would have landed in Barbados.
Mhm.
So I think up to recently they had a documentary showing the slave huts. Some of them they're still there. You had the old flour mill, and so you still have some of the buildings from the Africans, and then you obviously the British buildings, the British like buildings. You still have those Parliament, etc. You still have those, and because Barbados is the beautiful Barbados, you have everybody coming to Barbados, as Pastor Brian said. You have the Chinese, you have everybody coming to Barbados. So Barbados has a really good mix of people, and I think
Mhm.
because of our hospitality, they say that Bajans are very hospitable. Everybody loves to come to Barbados. Most of the tourists say they love to come to Barbados because of the reception that they receive. People are very kind to them, give them directions, assist them. So Barbados has a very rich culture. Yes, both of the African and the British, but we're now being invaded by others.
Mhm.
So we have a really good mix, a very good mix of people.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. It's so good to hear that other, because sometimes when I think of Trinidad, I think of us as a cosmopolitan and a melting pot because we just have everybody. But to hear that it's the same for Barbados, it shows you how diversification is happening, how people travel across the islands and across the world, and now it's just so much easier to get to other islands and to settle and to build a life and to build a home and a family and stuff like that. Let us talk about the migration within the Caribbean to Barbados. Because when I was there, I found that there were a lot of Guyanese nationals in Barbados as compared to some of the other islands. So let's talk a little bit about that, Pastor Brian.
Yeah, they're Guyanese here, they're Trinidadians here, there are St. Lucians here, there are Vincentians here, and I'm sure, just like in all of those islands, you go, you find two or three or four or five or 20 Bajans somewhere hanging out somewhere. So we do have a number of persons from the Caribbean living in Barbados. Over the years, they would have, some persons would have come here to work. Some persons would have been married and so on. So we have that diverse of Caribbean mix in Barbados, and I welcome it. I like it, because it shows that we are one people, whether or not we are from wherever in the Caribbean. We are one people. I'm looking forward to the day when they build these railways across the Caribbean that you can get in your car and drive to St. Lucia and drive to St. Vincent. These ones are near to us. You know, Trinidad is yes, Trinidad is a little further away, but St. Vincent and St. Lucia is closer to Barbados. So you know, we and Grenada.
Wait.
So we getting one of these days and drive.
How close is it though? Is it less than 45 minutes?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. You can get to St. Vincent in like a half hour, 35 minutes or so. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's very close. So we, you know, I welcome the idea of the Caribbean nations working together, and I think that maybe the church, maybe the body of Christ can be the ones who are bringing it together, where we are able to visit each assembly, come over to each assembly, have you know, you go on. I believe that the church might be the driving force behind it. I remember the late Owen Arthur, who was the prime minister at the time, and Evangelist Sharian will remember this, when we had something called the Caribbean Single Market. That's something that they were CSME, yeah. That's something that was tremendous. And at the time I was into the shipping business, and I traveled all through the Caribbean, you know. I traveled through the Caribbean with trying to bring the ships to Barbados and so on. So it was interesting. So I like the idea of the Caribbean coming together, because we are all small nations in comparison to the rest of the world. We are all small nations. So we need to come together. The Caribbean islands need to come together. So when the Trinis come, when the Guyanese come, when the St. Lucians come, it is all right once they have the document stamp, and we're good to go. And of course, vice versa.
Just putting out all the protocols there. Make sure you have your document stamped, guys, if you want to go live in Barbados, right?
Well, I have no choice but to welcome it, because I'm a product of that. My dad is a Trinidadian and my mom is a Bajan. So, hey, product here. So with you know, the Caribbean coming together, remember the CSME, that was one initiative to help bring the countries together. It has been successful because we've been having persons coming under that initiative. You have the passport and everything where you can travel across the Caribbean. So I believe that, and with the different discussions, I believe that our prime minister at one point was the head of Commonwealth and so forth. So, you know, we're collaborating, we're coming together, and it will be interesting to see that when we go to being a republic, how much involvement we would be in the Commonwealth and within that as well. So that's one of the things that I'm looking at as well. So the Caribbean will come together. I believe they are coming together because we have a lot of Guyanese here. We have a lot of Jamaican, a lot of Trinidadian. We have a lot. St. Lucians, I know some St. some Vincentians that are here. So we have a good mix here, and we're friends. And even though sometimes I have to ask them to slow down a bit, and they have to ask me to slow down a bit in terms of when I'm talking, you know, we still relate. The cultures are vast in a little, you know, they're different in some ways, but you know, we are all the same. We are all Caribbean people. We are one. So I just love the interaction with the different countries, different Caribbean nations.
And I like that too, because while there may be some differences, we do share a lot of commonalities. Like most of the Caribbean was once ruled by British. Yes, you will have the Dutch and the French and the Spanish, but generally we share that that commonality. You know, we're very similar. We may call it different things when we get to that, when we talk about food and stuff like that. But definitely, like for example, we all love soca, we all love reggae, you know, so there are things that bind us and unite us together as one. All right. Also, so let's talk about this part that I'm going to need a lot of help translating. Let's talk about Barbados dialect and lingo. So
I
went up online to look at these things. Now, I am not even going to attempt to pronounce any of these things, all right? But let's talk about the lingo, because basically when I came the first time, I didn't understand anything. Now, because of my interactions with you all, I'm much more familiar with it. Sometimes I don't understand. Tell me some popular phrases.
Oh gosh. Let me see.
You had it good, yeah.
Some, please, let me give you one. This one. Let me give you this one, right? Let me give you this one, right? So you all say this cheese on thing, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, what? Anyway, it's an exclamation of wonder. Only to find out today it is cheese on bread. That's what
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, cheese
Come
on
on.
bread.
Cheese on bread, man. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Cheese on bread.
Why?
We would normally say that when something happens and we're like, cheese on bread, dang.
I think that because Barbadians love so much cheese and bread, so they had to find something that they connect to, that this would be like a God replacement word. So instead of a man cussing, he would say cheese on bread, man. You know, so that is something that we have as well, that we use.
Listen, guys, cheese on bread is not a normal saying, all right?
Exactly.
It sounds so weird from me because I sound so proper saying it like cheese on bread, and that's
Yeah.
not what you all say.
Yeah, we
All right,
just
give me
put the
something
two
else.
together. We just put the two together, Pastor Sophie. We put the two together, and instead of saying cheese on bread, we say cheese on bread.
Cheese on bread.
You know, we actually sing it. So that's what makes it so unique. You know.
I understand. Go ahead, give me a next one. Give me a next one that you'll
Let me
use.
see. You real hard ears though.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Good one.
That's a good one. That's a good
Pastor
one.
Sophie, you know what
Okay.
you know what that means? You know what that means?
You're stubborn.
Don't like to listen.
You don't like to listen. Your ears
Right,
hard.
you're stubborn.
Yes. I think in
Yeah.
Trinidad you say you're hardened.
Yeah, you're hardened.
You're hardened. In Trinidad they say
Yeah,
you're hardened.
you're hardened. Okay, how do you pronounce Gine? Like, how do you say what's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
But you
W
spell
W-U-H.
Gine.
We're going, yeah. We're going, Gane, going.
Yes.
Let I look at this here. There's a song by Sing Out Barbados. There's a folk song. Everywhere I go, people want to know why you happy so, why Barbados I come from.
Like, I'll take my time and read that, right? Because Barbados,
Yeah.
and you always use this word una. Everything is una.
Una.
Una this, una that, una.
Winner.
Yeah, winner.
Oh, una.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, winner.
I'm
In
not a
Trinidad
big-
you always say y'all.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
All yeah, yes.
Oh, all yeah.
That's
All
it,
yeah.
all yeah.
Yeah.
My granny used to say that all the time. All yeah, hardened.
You know,
Yeah.
Pastor Sophie, even as those persons who are watching and maybe who will view later and who will listen on the radio station, you know that when we're saying these words, when you're coming to visit Barbados, you will know what some of these words mean. So when you hear somebody using these phrases, you're able to say, well, oh yeah, I heard that on Living Life God's Way. So
Yes.
right, that's clicking. So apart from we were actually educating visitors, because one thing about our nation is that we are a tourist attraction. I think I saw
Yes.
Fiona put it up earlier that she's into travel. So Fiona, you must come to Barbados. There's no traveling and not coming to Barbados. You can't be a traveler and not come to Barbados. You have to come
Correct.
to Barbados. You know.
Correct.
So she will know these words when after the program is finished that she can relate to.
Evangelist Sherry, can you see what I just posted?
Yes, you did.
What is that?
He here for
Say that quick. Say it to me again.
He ain't here pompa setting.
I know it means that he's showing off. But
Yes.
say that last word for me again.
He ain't here pompa setting.
All right. I mean, I like it. I like it, but I mean, for us, when you're actually speaking, one-on-one to each other, it's actually amazing to hear because I literally don't and understand it. The speed with which you all are speaking, it's really difficult. But I like the lingo. I like the lingo. In here, compositing. I'm going to use that one though.
Yes.
That last one I sent you. All right, so let's move along. Let's move along. And let's talk a little bit about some of your unique food.
I like
that
what
I'm going to give
Bev
you.
post here, Pastor Sophie. You see this? I saw Bev posting something here. She says, "Same all yeah." You ever heard that one?
Same as
yeah.
all, yeah. Yeah, but we
Same as all, yeah.
YUH. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make it a little broken English kind of thing, not straight Queen's language. Right. So I know that one of they say that the national dish of Barbados is cuckoo and flying fish, which is basically something made from cornmeal and okra and stuff like that. So tell us some of the popular dishes in Barbados. Who wants
Macaroni
to go
pie.
first?
Macaroni pie.
Macaroni pie. Macaroni pie.
What?
You don't go anywhere to buy food unless you see macaroni pie.
You have to have macaroni
You
pie.
have to have.
If you
Really?
don't have macaroni pie,
Shut down.
yes. And if it's a Christian gathering, they will give you deliverance. There must be macaroni pie.
Are you all serious?
Yeah. Yeah. You must
Okay.
have macaroni pie.
Wow.
Have macaroni pie.
Okay, so we must have macaroni pie. Okay, what about pudding and sauce?
Yes.
Oh my.
We normally have that on Saturdays, mainly on Saturdays.
Okay.
Saturday mornings is pudding and sauce.
Why? Why Saturday? Has it just developed as a tradition?
That's how it came along for you, Nick. On Saturday mornings is pudding and sauce. You can't be eating pudding and sauce no other day of the week. It just don't taste the same. It has
Yeah.
to be on a Saturday.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, I see BJ is putting up bread and two, which
Yes.
is fish cakes.
Bread and two fish cakes.
Yes.
Yes.
Fish
Salt
cakes
bread and
and
two fish
salt
cakes.
bread. Yes.
Yes.
Guys, we need
Yeah.
to have this discussion now. Let's take a few minutes because I need to understand this, right? Now, fish cakes is what we call akra here in Trinidad, right? So to me, that's a flour thing with salted fish in it.
Yes.
Why do you need to put it in the bread though? Like that's flour and flour. Why put it in the bread? Why just not have it just like that?
It tastes real good, especially when you put more pepper salt or ketchup in it. And I even saw somebody put a slice of cheese in it. Tastes
Oh
real
my.
Really?
Yes.
With the cheese, the cheese is that's why too we are a cheese nation. So the cheese on top of the bread and on top of the two fish cakes inside of the bread is a delicacy. That's a morning delicacy. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Interesting.
So Pastor Sophie, you can't come to Barbados.
All right. So what else?
You can't come to Barbados and not have a bread and two. You can't come to Barbados and not have pudding and
so I've
sauce.
been there 3 times, and I've had. Okay, so I've been there 3 times. I have not had pudding and sauce, but I have had fish cakes. And let me just say, the best tasting fish cakes is from Elder Allison and Dina's. Just putting it out there because I like it. So it's really good.
Yes.
So I have not had pudding and sauce, but I have had your pigtails, and I don't eat pork. So that's tell you how good it is.
Yes.
Oh. You have to have sauce though. It's an abomination to come to Barbados and not have sauce on Saturday mornings. Any visitor, if you are coming to Barbados, you must have pudding and sauce, and you must have it on Saturday mornings. I see Jay commenting, and he's commenting, Evangelist Sharian, that's great. Jay, you have to come to Barbados and have some pudding and sauce, boy.
Yes. I actually have
So wait, when you say pudding, because when we refer to pudding, we usually refer to it like made out of pig's blood and all those stuff. That's not what you all are talking about. You all are talking about the thing made from sweet potatoes or something like that.
Sweet potato, yes. Yeah.
They used to do that, one time it used to be the pig blood and stuffing and stuff, but it's not that anymore. Nobody eats that now. It is sweet potato.
Okay, nice. All right.
Yeah,
Well, let me
yeah.
say, I have seen it, and it looks appetizing. I haven't tried it, but it looks appetizing.
Not good.
For real.
All right. So, right, conkeys. I finally know what conkeys are. We call them pastels here.
Yes, you do. Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out conky. Is it a shell?
Wow.
Is it a shellfish? What is this thing? Right. And that's very popular with you all in Barbados as well.
Especially in November.
Yeah, same here. November into December around Christmas time is when we have the explosion of different types of, let me use your word, conkeys.
But the conkeys here, we do conkeys around Independence. It is like a national thing for us. So when we do conkeys associated with the Independence time. So as soon as November hits, it's conky time. So
Yes.
those people who cook and so on will do conkeys. Ours isn't associated with maybe Christmas or those special dishes. It is more associated with Independence. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
ours is associated with Christmas. So you'll get the fish, beef, veggie, chicken, whatever else, But okay, so around November, your independence, you're associated with that. All right.
Yeah.
So let's move along. Wow, Bobby, this has a lot of things to talk about. Let us talk about the beautiful island itself, because you all are one of the Caribbean's top destination islands. You've won awards for it, for tourism. It's phenomenal. You all have cruise liners and vessels coming in often during the summer and all of those things. And of course, we have some fabulous places. One of my favorite places is the caves, Harrison Caves. Right? Every time I come, I go there because it's just so fascinating. So tell me some of the places that are of interest in Barbados.
Oh.
Evangelist Sharian, I was waiting on you. Oh, I was waiting on Evangelist Sharian.
I was waiting on you. I know for sure the beaches. The beaches
Mhm.
is one of the wonders. It's when visitors come, the beautiful sand, how nice looking, because some places have black sand and dark colored sand. But when they see the beautiful light color of our sand and our beaches, they are fascinated with it. And especially the East Coast, a lot of people like to go up East Coast because it's nice and windy. I know they had a lot of surfing competitions up there. We call it the Soup Bowl, and you have a lot of surfing.
You call it the what, Evangelist Sharian?
Is Soup Bowl, I think you call it.
Bashiba
that.
Soup Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot
Yeah.
of surfing up there. Yes.
Yes.
So we will see a lot of persons up there, and with the surfing and stuff like that. And it's nice and breezy, and you just go. You have a lot of picnics up there, and we just relax and just enjoy the scenery and the waves hitting on the sand and stuff like that. So those are just two areas that are nice. But the scenery in Barbados is lovely, especially when you go up Mount Hillaby and those high places, and you just look over. What is it? I can't remember where it is when you pass. It is up by Morgan, the flour mill up there by
Morgan Lewis, yeah.
Morgan Lewis Mill, right? When you go up there and you look over and you see the sea and all the different hills and stuff, it is beautiful, it's magnificent, and the air is just clean up there. So there's just
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Pastor Brian, what are some of your favorite spots in Barbados?
Well, I grew up in the parish of St. George, so there's a place called Gun Hill, which has a lion. It's not a real lion. Um, the history says the history says that the guys from England during some time of war. I've never actually taken the time to read what they have on it, but if my memory serves me correctly, it is something to do with the guys who came into Barbados. There were war was going on, and they structured out or carved out this lion. So we have a lion up there as a it's a place of interest for us. So when tourists coming to the island, they will go to Gun Hill and take a lot of pictures and stuff like that. I would really love to if the internet wasn't moving so slowly, I would have brought out some of these pictures so that persons can actually see what I'm talking about. They are very beautiful. So we have that. Then we have something called St. Nicholas Abbey, which is also very beautiful. We have the Animal Flower Cave as well. There's some really beautiful places in Barbados, and we have to come and see. I'm here looking at Tamisha's comment and smiling.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's very beautiful, and as we're sharing this particular program with the Barbados Independent Special, we want persons to come to Barbados and have a look. Come and have a look. The Prime Minister has opened our nation for persons to come in and be in the island for a year. Come and see. Come and see. Don't take our word for it. You have to come and see these beautiful beaches where you can look down and you can see inside of the water. And Evangelist Sharia mentioned this when she spoke about the sea. The sea there is no sea in the world that is like the sea in Barbados. None. Zero. And the sand is absolutely beautiful. So you have to come in and see this, and see what we are talking about. So we have that. Then we have the East Point. There's a lighthouse in East Point, which you can see all the way out at sea. That's there as well. You can you see pretty much right to the eastern side of Barbados from there. That's another major sightseeing place in Barbados as well. So there are some beautiful places here, for sure. You have to come and see them.
Well, for me, who've been there a couple of times, let me just assure our listeners, it is if you've never been there, put it on your bucket list because it is absolutely beautiful. Evangelist Sharian and Pastor Brian are so right. The beaches are fabulous. Beautiful blue, aqua green, not brown beaches, guys. Beautiful, beautiful beaches. There's this place that I went to. There's this old, I am assuming it's the Anglican church, and you look out. I don't know where that is. I think it's St. John's or something like that they call it. And they have that was nice. The view from there is really nice as well. So there are lots of tourists.
I just remember what it's called. It's actually called Fortescue. Up there is Fortescue. It's very beautiful. Yeah.
So there's nice. So definitely bucket list, guys. Bucket list, Barbados. We can't do it in 2020 because obviously of COVID. But once the borders opening back up, definitely you want to head. You want to head there. All right. So we've spoken all about food and stuff like that. Let's talk about. Right. Let us talk about the culture in terms of music, because you all have a lot of things. You all have crop over. You all have oh gosh, what's this big gospel concert that you're gospel fest, right? So you all have a lot of things. You all have a lot of nightlife in terms of all the restaurants and all these fun things that you all have going on. So it's very tourist oriented, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about Barbados is the nightlife compared to places like Grenada, which has no nightlife, right? So let's talk about your rich history in music. Pastor Brian, let's start with you because this is your area of expertise.
Yes. Music has been a popular entity with the culture of Barbados. Um, we actually have a, I'm trying to think of the right name to call it. We have this thing that we call spooge, which is unique to Barbados. It's a particular style of music. I don't think that we have developed it how we should have, but it's a particular style of music. It's a tempo, medium pace kind of beat. But that's unique to Barbados, right? Music in Barbados, there's some great singers, whether it's gospel or whether it's secular. There are some great singers in Barbados. There's some fantastic musicians. Years gone back, people would just go by like shops and stuff and set up bands and set up speakers and stuff like that and play music. Music in Barbados was very popular, especially like in the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. Music was the known thing. Even in the hotels for tourists, it was a known thing. Then of course there's, like you mentioned, there's Gospel Fest. So our thing is music. Music is Barbados. To come to Barbados, you can guarantee there's some shop, there is some restaurant, there's somewhere where you play music. Sometimes even when you go into banks and stuff in Barbados, you will hear music. You will hear at this time you will hear independence music playing and stuff going on. So all of those music, like the one we started with, Beautiful Barbados from the Merrymen, they've had that. So you have a lot of folk music going on where the focus was on the drums and stuff like that, the conga drums. So you have that. You have bands playing, and obviously because of COVID now there's not a lot, but you could have guaranteed, like last year this time there was a big celebration going on for independence. So there was concerts and shows and so on, right? So Barbados is very hyped up on music, and as I said, there are a lot of fantastic musicians in Barbados, fantastic singers and so on, fantastic writers and stuff like that. They're here, and you hear the Barbadian music all over the world, and I'm proud to be a part of being a musician and stuff, having played for a long time across the nation. We have that rich heritage of music, and it continues to go on, because I remember growing up seeing guys who playing, like there's a good friend of mine, John Ruick. I would have grown up seeing John playing keyboards, and John is in his 60s and his mid 60s, and John is still playing keyboards. He's very good, and I grew up, saw him, then I had the opportunity to play with him, to be on the same stage with him, and then there are other guys who are coming up now. They're youngsters, and we actually have we call it the BCC music program, where it is structured on teaching young musicians or whoever is interested in learning the art of music. And then a part of that, then there's also the art of dancing. There's a lot, theater, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So Barbados is very rich in culture when it comes to music. And we haven't diverted from it. It's just coming in different ways. So we have the generations coming who are still doing it. So we do have that rich heritage of music. And that is something, again, and I'm putting in this plug all the time, you have to come to Barbados to experience our music. Our music is nice, it is unique. Actually, and if I will get a little facetious here, Marshall Montano, actually, most of his band, not the drum, the keyboards, two keyboards, drum, bass, the whole work. So I just say that to say that the musicians in Barbados are of very high level, and also the singers. So that is something that when you come to Barbados, you'll see and be able to celebrate.
I agree with you. And Evangelist Sharon, I'm going to get to you now as we get to getting ready to wrap up. I can't believe an hour has gone, but you know, Pastor Brian is so right. It's like everywhere you go, even this thing that you all have in Oystons,
Yes.
what do you
Things
call
fish
this thing? Fish
festival,
fries, fish
Yes.
something.
festival.
Right, you all have bands playing there. Then as Pastor Brian say, at restaurants, at hotels, you can always find that band in the corner playing, you know, that group. If there's this place that has it, guys, and I'm not thinking, I'm just talking from the Harbor Lights, they do this kind of show thing that you know stuff. So yes, Evangelist, tell us a little bit about, as we get ready to wrap up, generally the culture, not just the arts, the overall culture and experience. Like I know Pastor Brian and you have been advocating that we come to Barbados. Tell
Yes.
us why. Tell us what it is like to live there, what it means to be Bayesian.
Wow. Uh, in years gone by, we had the village culture where everybody used to be at everybody. You know, you need a pinch of salt. You go to the next door neighbor, you get, you know, whatever you need and stuff. And so we had that that village upbringing. We've moved away a bit from it, but still you have the friendliness. You still have, you know, persons reaching out to each other. So to me, in Barbados, we are a lovely set of people, nice, um, generally kind, to each other as well as to the visitors. I think that was one of our hallmarks, being,
Mm.
you know, nice to the visitors and so forth, and to each other in general. You know, you will have the little one-off things, but generally, Bajans are nice people. Um, with I just want to speak a little bit about the music part of it. Music brings people together. If it is one, music and food brings people together.
Yes.
So when you come to Barbados, be sure to get to somewhere, you know, if you have music, you know, food right around the corner. So, and it's not only Oysters Fish Festival that we have. We've had recently, Pastor Brian, you'll be able to correct me. Recently, we had Jazz Festival in Barbados as well. And we have something known as a tuck band, where you have the
Mm.
guys on the bongo drums, you have the Mother Sally, and we will have these at national events and so forth. And the Green Monkey just, you know, flipping all around the place. And those are some of the things that tourists found fascinating. So coming to Barbados, there's this lovely um, festival, dancing, music, food, you know, nightlife. But we don't have much nightlife now because of the COVID. But you know, every weekend is down oystings. You have the bands playing, or you have karaoke, and you hear the
Yes.
people singing all over the place. But you can guarantee once you see music, you see food, and once you see those combinations, you hear laughter, you hear enjoyment, you hear people having fun. It's just a fantastic place to be. Come on over to Barbados. We're just waiting.
Awesome. All right, Pastor Brian. So as we wrap up, tell us what it is like for you being Bayesian. What makes being Bayesian or Barbadian so special?
I think one of the hallmarks of Barbados is Evangelist Sharian mentioned it, friendliness. One of the things about Barbados is you can't, like, if I go outside now and I saw one of my neighbors, it is almost automatic that I will say good evening or hello. It is you hardly pass next to somebody and don't say good evening or say hello. If you do, then you are considered rude and unmannerly,
Oh yes.
right? So you'll get somebody turning up their face at you.
Yeah.
For me, effort is one of the things that was stay in my mind, or I like being a Bajan for, is that friendliness with everyone. There's a friendliness, you don't have to know the person
Sure.
to say hello. You will say hello because you pass next to the person. So that's one of the things I like about being Barbadian. That you are friendly with each other. The other thing also I like about it is as a believer, as a child of God, as a minister, you are we can have conversations with other people who believe other things, and nobody don't try to shoot you for it, right?
Mhm.
You can have, I can have conversation. I have guys that I know that are Muslims, that I have discussions with them that I'm trying to get them convert to Christianity, and they're trying to get me converted to Muslim. So but so I have conversations with them. So I like that you're able to express yourself, but you have to do it with decency, because you will hear that you're real indecent if you don't do things in decency. So the overall, I don't know if Evangelist Sharian would agree with me here, but overall, I think that our nation is a nation where morals are still in place, even though there's some deterioration. I still think that there's some morals in place, and there's still persons who would say you need to go to church, or you need to and as soon as somebody have a problem, they will call a pastor to prayer, or they will call somebody who knows how to pray to prayer. So that's what I love about being Barbadian, that you still have persons still have that great respect for the Lord, right? They still have that great respect in that if something goes wrong, you better call the pastor here. You still have that, even though they will not, you may not have a relationship, but they still have the respect for the Lord, and I think that goes a long way. So those things I would sum up, and that's why I love being a Bajan to the bone, man.
Yes.
Awesome. So it has been such a wonderful discussion. All things Barbados, celebrating the nation's 54th independence on Monday. So we're just having this show that just declares about Barbados, the beauty, the wonder, the splendor, the glory, the fun, the laughter, the people. And there I say the people are the icing on the cake in Barbados. All the fun places and the tourist destinations or hotspots, but it's the people that we've come to love in Barbados. So as we get ready to wrap up Living Life God's Way, we want to take the opportunity to say thank you all for joining us. Those of you who are in Barbados, we wish you, or you may be Bajan and not in Barbados, we want to wish you all a happy Independence Day. We pray God's blessings on the island. We know that Barbados is one of the hubs in the Caribbean islands, among the Caribbean islands. And we know that God is doing something great in Barbados. But I want you all to have a fabulous weekend. I know it's a long weekend for you guys, because Monday is supposed to be a holiday. So do have a fabulous weekend from all of us at Living Life God's Way. Happy Independence. And we will see you next week at 6:30 p.m. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hello. How can we be successful? By living life God's way. Join me, Pastor Brian Callender, and a special guest each week as we discuss aspects of life and share nuggets with you so that you can be the best person God designed you to be. Join us every Thursday at 6 p.m. on social media as we share and challenge you to be the best that God will have you to be. Grab a friend, sit down and watch, and actively participate of what God will do as we share. God bless you.